Yes, yes, yes. More it's on. We could even go tape to Maine. Well, hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the 45th episode of the Working Musicians Podcast. I am your host, Dris Organica. Today's going to be a slightly different episode. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do, but since I'm now doing things on the YouTube and I'm on the video, it kind of forces you to do things a little bit differently, and that's okay. But I kind of been doing a little bit of singing here recently. It seems like singing sort of come up in the episodes a lot here recently. I got a kick out of my Getting High Vocally episode, and that's one I actually kind of listened back to because it's kind of a hard one to like go out there and have some knowing that I've got some bad vocals out there. I didn't want to do that, but I felt like, you know what, let's be realistic. What do people really sound like? And while that was hard for me, it's really not that big of a deal because, you go record yourself singing and don't put a lot of effort into it and see what happens. Listen to that. Let's guess what? It ain't so good. You know what I mean? So that was cool. So I thought maybe I got to do sort of like a follow-up to that. Follow-up episode of, what I'm going to call episode 45, How to Sing Good. Yeah, we're going to teach you how to sing good here on the Working Musicians Podcast on the 45th episode. It's about 45th time, Because I don't like to show labels, but that's another thing I got to keep in mind is that now that I'm on video, I've got a little bit of branding I got to watch out for. So, but whatever, I don't care. I'm not making money out of this. Just the hell with it. But at the very least, for all I could be drinking root beer, so I don't want to be a bad influence. But what I will say is, even though I'm drinking root beer, I would like to thank Budweiser for being the unofficial sponsor of this show, if you adults catch my drift. And I think you do, because I'm not that deep. And it's amazing, after I drink, 6 or 7 of these Budweiser root beers, it's just kind of like, how to sing good, How do you do that? Dris, can you demonstrate how to sing good? I don't know. Call me out. Put me on my spot. Let me see. I'm going to pick a song at random. So you can be your own judge as to whether I sing good or not. But you can tell probably after I'll just sing a little filthy limerick. I've been at this a little bit. But something else I've been doing here recently is I quit smoking, so it's been just over a week now, and I haven't been smoking. And I tell you what, and I know this, but when I get serious about singing and recording, I quit smoking, and I think I'm just going to make that a lifestyle choice and just quit completely because it's bad for me. I'm not getting any younger, and it just I notice how bad it affects my lung support and my ability to sing. Right, and it was very apparent during that Getting High Vocally episode. I was smoking pretty heavily at the time. I'm like, okay, I can tell I'm struggling a little bit more than I probably should. So, what the hell? It's been over a week and I can sing so much easier, so I want to demonstrate how much easier it is to sing it, just to make this show a little bit more awkward. I'm going to sing Little Beatles. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday. Oh yes, love was such an easy game to play. But I just want to get it out there. I think people feel awkward about singing in front of people, and it's kind of weird listening to people randomly sing. But if you get over it, it kind of makes it to where it's not so weird. And I want the concept of singing to not be weird. Like if I were to come up here and just start playing a random guitar, it's not weird. Like, here I'll go play. You just heard me sing, and that was probably awkward as crap, right? So I'm gonna go play guitar right quick. You know, it's like all of a sudden it's no longer so awkward, and I just don't understand why. Like, oops, I'm making a spectacle. Oh shit, I probably won't. I ain't going over no wires. So that's good. Let's just. Oh, that's terrible. Here we go. There it is. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Why is this so much less awkward? Just another instrument. Hey, I messed up. Who gives a shit? If I'm going to keep doing shit like this, I probably had to go bust out my condenser microphone. I'll tell you what. And it just does not come out that kind of stuff doesn't come out as good on the dynamic, but man, radio style broadcast sure does. Especially if I get up to the mic like this. Maybe I should do the whole episode just like this. But that's not you get the idea. But, okay, is the awkwardness out of their systems? Let's just get that shit out of their systems. This does not need to be awkward. But for some reason, singing is just awkward, right? It's uncomfortable. And I'm the first to admit, I do not like to feel uncomfortable. If I feel uncomfortable, I feel the necessity to put everyone else in the same position and make them feel uncomfortable. If I feel awkward, you're going to feel awkward. I'm not saying I always do that, but oftentimes I do that, right? Because I don't want to be the only one who feels awkward. I mean, feeling awkward sucks. I don't want to be the only one. I don't like that. I like to feel like I'm in control of things to an extent, But, you're just not all the time. Sometimes you're just not in control. Things are awkward. But why has it got to be like that with singing? It really shouldn't. And I think that's one thing you've got to get over. If you're going to learn how to sing good, you got to get over the awkwardness and realize that it's not you who should feel awkward. It's the listener. They're the ones that are vulnerable. I mean, yes, you think you as the singer are the vulnerable one, but in reality, it's a two-way street here. So if you feel awkward, you need to make them feel awkward. If you feel confident, you need to make them feel confident. And whatever you're feeling when you're singing, that's what they're going to feel. So, if you're out there and you're singing a sad song and you're feeling it and you feel sad, so are they. Crazy concept, right? But I'm going to get back to this in a second because I kind of want to talk about a little bit what's going on in life a little bit. I don't like to just jump into an episode. I jumped into this one a whole lot quicker than I normally do. But I'm going to kind of talk about what's going on with the channel, the brand, or whatever. So I'm starting to kick this off in a bigger launch. I'm trying to make up my game a little bit and try to make this a more professional Well, production. Now, don't get me wrong. I ain't going that far into it, you know. Hey, I just finally got on the year turb. I might just go ahead and I've got one of them fancy DSLR. It like the, you know, there's Nikon and Canon. Well, we got one of them. That just seems like overkill for what I'm doing. Like I don't know. It just seems like overkill. This Note 5, I got to hand it to Samsung. They put a pretty powerful camera on their little devices. In all fairness, this thing was probably like a $700-800 phone, so you'd think it'd be pretty sweet. It's got some good stuff on it. I mean, I'm a big fan. I think it's a great phone. There's some things I don't like though. Let me tell you something about what I don't like about phones right now. So it took me a while to get over the fact that they no longer have physical keyboards. For the most part, that's phased out. You might find an old-fashioned one here and there just because some people just will not give up their button keyboard, which I was one of those people. I had it on my G1. I had it on my G2. Then when it came to my Note 2, it's like, oh, this is tough, but man, that's such a big screen. I love this. Oh, I was loving it, you know? Just loved it. In fact, I still got that phone, and it still works, but just, you know, I end up upgrading for a few reasons. It was fine. It still works to this day. I'd say, hey, it still works. You can pick one up. If you can pick one up cheap, what the hell? In fact, I'm thinking about maybe using that for my phone, but like my camera on this, but I'm like, well, what the hell? What's the point? Like, this is probably a better camera. I can just delete the video off this. This is my current device. I'll just use this. But I tell you, there is a difference between the Note 2 and the Note 5. This is what I've noticed phones are going to, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So I can't like expand the memory on this. I can either buy one that's got more memory or not. As far as I can tell, the Note 5, after the Note 4 was the last one. I ended up buying one for my wife, and it had problems. It could have just been, or it ended up dropping in a puddle, and that's why we got the Note 5. They had a buy one, get one free thing. Had it not been for her dropping her in a puddle, I'd still have my Note 2, because that's just how I roll. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know? I had like a very, like a 5-year-old version of Reaper up until just recently. Reaper's my DAW, digital audio workstation, but Reaper's my DAW, and I finally updated it just because I was having problems with video support and I couldn't get it to work. And it turns out that was part of the problem. The biggest part of the problem was the camera I was using was just not suitable for the job. It just wasn't. Took me some time to figure that out, and now I'm doing this. This is a way better option. I don't know why I didn't think about it already. But so what they're doing with the new phones, and basically the Note 4 for like the kind of phones I like the big fat ones. You can't replace the battery on them. They're sealed. They're totally sealed. So once that thing don't work no more, it's you throw it away. That Note 2, I can go buy another battery and have that basically turn it into what I felt was like a brand new phone, because that battery gets old, starts dying quicker, doesn't power quite as well. Man, you know, I just format that thing. If you put a new battery in there and it cost me like $10, man, it's like a brand new phone. Not so much anymore. I don't like the amount of memory I have. I can update it. You know, I can pull that one out, store it. You know, I can't do that stuff no more, and I don't like it. So to your phone manufacturers, I really don't like the sealed system. That's what Apple does, and I don't care for it. You know, I'm the kind of guy who likes to. I think Samsung makes one of the best phones out there. I think it's great. But I tell you what I don't like is you're trying to be too much like Apple. I get it. Apple phones are pretty. But I really think they need to make a Samsung like military grade, a Texas edition. They need to make like a Texas edition cell phone. You know? Because, you know, sometimes things crash. And you just got to pop that battery out and it fixes it. Now, I've had issues with this phone. Once in a blue moon, weird things happen. And it's like, I got to hit all these random buttons and just pray it comes back. When I knew if I just popped that battery out, it was, on my Note 2, it was in and out. But maybe they've made it to where that's not as necessary anymore. I don't know. But I just don't like things that you can't fix yourself. I can't fix this Note 5. If it breaks, I'm toast. I got to take it someplace. And my wife has a Note 5, and her son broke the screen on that. Fortunately, that one has insurance. For some reason, I found out mine does not, even though I thought we put insurance on it. I don't know how that happened. Thanks, T-Mobile, you jackasses. Well, I ain't been paying for it, so that's nice. But her phone, it was going to cost $400 for them to replace the screen on that son of a bitch. it's probably like $170 for us to do the insurance. So I think we'll do the insurance. But it just sucks because I can't take the physical drive out of that without just demolishing the phone to get the pictures and shit and videos that she's taken off on. So I can't get that thing off. And because I can't use the screen, I can't connect it to the computer and get it to do that kind of stuff. It's just, what a joke. If I could have taken out that internal solid, the little disk, little floppy drive thingy, looks like a big sheet of acid. If I could have taken out that big sheet of acid, I could have put it, on another phone or this, that, or the other thing. But I'd have had options. I could have put it on a card and put it inside of a slot reader on a computer. I had options. Now I don't. So it just gets me to thinking, we got to save our stuff. We got to save our stuff randomly. I mean, nonstop. You got to nonstop back up your stuff to the cloud, put your stuff on other things, so that stuff happens, and it's just unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. But that's kind of where I've been at, is just having phone problems, right and left, but yeah, it just drives me nuts. Stuff just drives me nuts. Okay, I think that was enough of a break from reality, because once I get into the show, I mean, stuff gets real. It gets real, it gets heavy, and it gets real fast. And I don't want to scare nobody, but we got to get into this, just how that goes. But before I get real with everything, I want to kind of talk about the direction this channel's going, because I meant to do that, and I kind of stopped. Well, what I'm going to end up doing here is, it looks like my buddy Channing wants to do this more. But at the same time, he kind of talked to me after I started doing video episodes, and in all fairness, I probably shouldn't even air the first episode I did on video, because I was so self-conscious of myself being on camera. I mean, look at my room. It's fucking terrible. I mean, it's a wreck. Well, see, I at least got rid of all the random markers and highlighters I used to have here. But it's like anything, you learn throughout as you go, and I'm not going to feel embarrassed about this, because I just don't care. It's not that big of a deal to me. But at any rate, I'm going to stop and take a piss and come back and talk a little bit more. But I'll edit this out, so you probably won't even notice. Oh, all right, back at it. That felt nice. Sorry, that's what happens when you drink beer at the rate I do. So, I learned some things by doing my first episode, and what I realized is I don't need to be so hyper aware of myself on the camera. Originally, I got it to where I was going to have flip the thing around to where I couldn't even see myself. Then I realized that's probably a bad idea, because, I realized it was a bad idea because I can't tell what's going on. So I've got this really bright light ahead of me, above me, so that, the video is not too dark, But unfortunately, if I turn that thing around, I can't tell what's shining. I can't tell what's going on. But the bad thing is, if I have a picture of myself right in front of myself and I'm just looking at it the whole time, I'm really hyper aware of how I look. And so I thought something that might help me, just to, maybe put some sunglasses on, because when you have your sunglasses on, you can't tell that I'm not looking directly into the lens. Like, really, I should be looking like this the entire time. Now, if I don't look like this, I can move my eyes over and you can't tell. But if I look like this, looks like I'm looking right at the middle of the screen from what I can tell. But the reality is, if I had my sunglasses off, you could tell I was looking off to one side or the other. It's just a little something I learned along the way, and I figure, what the heck? This kind of give you a chance to see how I am in reality. The last episode, I was just gotten off work and farted around, did some stuff, and put the kids to sleep, ate a little bit, and that's who I was. Outside of work, this is who I am. a little bit more accurate representation of who Dris Organica really is from a visual perspective. But we are who we are, and we all wear different hats. Some of them are old Green Bay Packer hats. Some of them are not, or no hats. But that's okay. This channel is all, I think, has kind of progressed to the point where it's like being open and honest about things and not really worrying about the consequences, because this is a sort of a social experiment from just one person trying to learn how to do all this and, just kind of documenting himself as a working musician. Not to say I think this is going to change people's lives, but I'm going to try to get a little closer so that my audio is a little bit better. But I think that this is the kind of thing where when people do discover, I want them to realize that I want them to have a lot of content. So when you do, it's like, oh, sweet, gold mine, check this out. I don't expect people to get through everything in a week, a day, or a month, a year. I want this to be something where you can discover 5 years from now, and it's still fresh. It's still interesting. And what I figure is if I just keep going at it, just keep doing it, promoting it, one person, two people at a time, it builds, things escalate. Next thing you know, you've got a following. We'll see how this goes. But I'm trying. I figure if you don't do it, it'll never happen, right? But my buddy Channing seems to want to get on board with this, so that's cool. But I've already kind of gotten onto the YouTube thing, and I'm pretty sure that's something that's like the next step I need to take. And so now I got to get him to get on that if we're going to continue to do this at the same production level. So this will be interesting, but it's just kind of, that's where the channel's at. I want to get more people on because I think it's more interesting than just having my dumb face up here all the time. But without video, people don't seem to be as interested in it. It's just, that's not as legit. And I get it. It doesn't look as professional. Like when you don't have an actual video, that's what people are here for. While podcasts are great, I like my podcasts, but I think I'm selling my brand short by not doing video. So this is probably the wave of the future of that, and I finally figured out how to do it properly. So, WTF, I'm going to start doing that from now on. As far as getting my buddy on this, it just kind of depends on his ability to adapt to technology. Well, I can, you can get on a laptop with a webcam, do all this, but if I want it to be at a certain quality, I got to get him to record into his interface with our actual microphone and use some kind of a decent camera, whether it be a webcam. Hopefully the webcam on that will work fine. But it's like, well, if I get him on, how do I do that? Do I put him like right here on this side and then I'm on that side? Do I put just like a little square up at the top of the screen and showcase myself the most? I mean, that's not what I'd rather have it to where, I don't know, you got like two kind of smaller faces. I think I was just sitting here. That's not as important. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe I'll have like a backdrop and two faces. Maybe I'll try to work on getting more people on this. Because I know some cool people. The problem is this show isn't really worth their time. That's sort of the problem I'm facing, is I got to make this more worth their time. But at the same time, the more people I get on it, the more interest will be raised by it. So I'm starting to get some interest. I'm starting to get some followers. People are starting to listen. It's a cool thing. I get the occasional email. It's not often, but, people kind of write me on Facebook, PM, from time to time. So it's like, okay, cool. I mean, it only took going on 50 episodes of this show. You know what I mean? But that's okay. It's okay. Because this is starting to look like a legit thing. And now that I'm branching out, the way I look at it, by episode 100, hopefully this will be a much bigger thing. We'll see. If not, cool. But it'll kind of come on. But what I'm finding is it will fall on me as a person of interest. I mean, the level and quality of the show. So I'm going to give it as much as I got without going too far. I'm going to take it one step at a time because I'm just not at a point where I feel like doing serious video editing. Because if I do that, it just won't happen. So I'm doing what I can do. I'm going to focus on what I can do and not worry about what I can't. This is what I can do for now. So that's kind of the technicalities of what's going on, what I'm trying to do here. So, on with the show. Did I mention Budweiser is the unofficial sponsor of this show? I might have to run downstairs and get me another one of these. Huh. Though I really probably shouldn't. I've had probably enough at this point, but hell, root beer is wonderful. I love me some root beer. Like I said, I quit smoking and man, I can sing so much easier now, but I still want one sometimes, you know? Well, what can you do? Sure had some temptation today. Didn't happen though. My will was deeper. All right. So, episode 45, How to Sing Good. I'm just going to kind of go on a rampage here, I guess, because there's a lot of people who sing. There's a lot of people who have very good voices, but they don't really sing good. And what do I mean by singing good? What does it mean to sing good? How do you sing well? You know? And that's something I don't think most people quite understand how it works. It's not simple. But it's not that hard either. You know, you have to try. You have to put some effort into it. We get it. You know, you got to have some practice. You got to have some technique. I mean, it's an instrument. It's like playing any instrument, but it just seems like it's really hard to listen to an amateur singer. Less hard to listen to an amateur guitar player or instrumentalist. But when it comes to vocals, we just don't want to hear a amateur vocalist. We just don't. It's hard, you know? And I think it's because that's the one instrument that we connect with the most. It's in some ways, kind of like the hardest one to master. Even though it's the one that we're all the most capable of doing, there just doesn't seem like there's that many of us who can really do it. And I would tell you, there's a lot of people who can sing. I'll tell you that right now. They wouldn't even call themselves singers, but they can sing. They can do pretty decent at it. Because we talk all frickin' day. So why is it that we use this instrument all the time? We always have it at our disposal, yet the majority of us are not good singers. It blows my mind. It's because we're embarrassed, we don't care, or we're ashamed, or, you know, it's not important to us. Any of those things. All those are valid. If it's not important to you, who cares, you know? Hell, I could probably drive a car real fast. I drive a car damn near every day. But I ain't a race car driver. You know what I mean? I think that's a fair analogy, a fair statement, you know, that's fine. But I think the reason why most people don't sing good is because you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be vulnerable. You just got to do it. And that's kind of the purpose of this, and really kind of the purpose of this show is to get people out of their comfort zone, myself included. Because, you know, I'm pretty good at I'm not afraid of a whole lot of things. And when it comes to, like, you know, social perception, it's just, I don't really care about that. Now, the reality is I do have to kind of hide my image a little bit and who I am just because I do have a professional life. And I think that's understandable. You know, I got to be employable. But at the same time, I just wish people would not be so concerned about how people view them and realize that how people view them is a reflection of how they view themselves and how they view other people in relation to themselves. So if you feel inferior when you're doing anything, people are going to view you inferiorly. If you feel positive and if you feel confident, people are going to take that from you. They're going to feel your confidence, and it's not something you can fake. You know, but at the same time, like, a singer is usually so critical on themselves that it doesn't matter what other people think. And you got to get over that. Just stop it. So I think that one of the first things you got to do in order to sing good is to not worry about what others think. You're going to make little mistakes. Who cares? It doesn't matter. I make mistakes in the show all the time, man. I screw up royally, constantly. I listen back to these episodes from time to time. I'm like, man, I should have edited that out. But whatever. Who cares? Moving forward. It's obvious, you know, some of these things I'm pretty fluid and I'm much better well-spoken than other times, and that's fine. There's sometimes I'm slurring, I'm barely conscious. I don't even know what I'm talking about, you know, but here I'm doing it. You know, I'm doing it, I'm trying. What are you doing, right? I think just people have to get over the fact that you're going to feel vulnerable and uncomfortable, right? And then that kind of leads me to this. Some people are unwilling to do that, and therefore when they sing, it's obvious that they're not really trying. Because that's another thing people are afraid to do, is to really try. Because there's no guarantees in this life. There's no guarantee that if you really try and put forth the effort that you're going to be amazing. And in fact, most likely you're not going to be amazing. But I tell you what, or get the result that you want, right? But I tell you what, you certainly won't be amazing or get the result you want if you don't try. So that's the other thing, you have to try. But unfortunately, that's kind of what makes things the funniest sometimes. If you ever see karaoke and you see people really going for it and they miss that big note at the end, it's like, oh, it's kind of funny. But at the same time, like, you can't have good without the bad, you know? So the other thing, too, is it's just like anything. Once you get better at it, that kind of stuff doesn't happen so often. In fact, it just kind of stops happening. And if you do notice it happening, you know how to correct it, and you fix it before it's too bad. Like, everyone's going to make little mistakes. It's just a matter of how big they are and how quickly you adapt and react to it. See, and that's the kind of thing that doesn't happen without practice and experience. So another reason why I think people often don't sing good is because they're afraid to try, which goes back to the first reason. Being afraid to try is the second reason. The first reason is they're just unwilling to put themselves out there and be uncomfortable and vulnerable. But guess what? If you're going to be a singer, you have to be vulnerable. That's kind of what makes it good, right? Then you got the people who take it too far, and they're too vulnerable. You know, it's like, oh, it's just hard to listen to. Like, this is so awkward. You're just pouring your heart out there. It's like, oh, stop it. You know, that's not good either. So somewhere in the middle is the happy balance. And a good singer can really pull you in and capture you and really deliver an emotional performance. But it has to be something believable. And it can't be too ridiculous. Like, it might really pain me that my dog died, you know? But you as the consumer is not going to feel that much pity for me, and it's not going to feel the same level of emotion because my stupid, ugly beagle, you know, got hit by a truck. You know, it's just kind of, if you know me, you know how callous my personality is. It's not very believable. So if it's believable, it's one thing, and sometimes singers are hyper emotional, and that's okay. But to a lot of us, it's annoying. It's kind of like, oh, stop, quit crying. I know you put a lot of time and effort in this, and this is like something you're very passionate about, but like, at some point, I just want to be entertained, you know? I don't want to see people cry. I don't like seeing people cry on TV. I just don't. It's awkward. Not to say I shouldn't feel vulnerable. That's kind of the point of media and art. But come on, pull yourself together. This is what you do. You had a good performance on The Voice. Cool. Quit crying about it. You're in the finals for a reason because you're good. You know? Have a little confidence in yourself and like believe in yourself, and this shouldn't be a complete shock. You know, hey, you pulled it off real well. Great. You should have, because that's what you put in that effort, you know? Sometimes you put in the effort, you still don't get quite the result you want, but I don't think you should be crying because you're so happy that you didn't screw up. You know, they're crying because, oh my God, it felt so great. You know, oftentimes those people are sitting there crying on stage because it's one of the first times they've had that release, you know, where they've really gone out there and really given it their all. You know, it's a cool thing to see from people for the first time, but it's unfortunate that you have to see that for the first time from a lot of people. It's like, oh, that's what's kind of cool about those shows, but at the same time, that's kind of sucks about those shows. Because these are basically, for the most part, people who have not really put themselves out there 100%. They might be very good. They've been afraid to really, really try. And then sometimes you see these people and it's almost like they try too hard. You know what I mean? So you almost have to find that balance, because you don't want to be like completely ridiculous and look ridiculous, you know? At the same time, it's kind of like, You want to get out there and you want to be believable. You want to be the kind of person that that captivates an audience. And how do you do that? Right? Because there's more to just singing than how you sound. You know, it's like there's certain music that it wouldn't make sense for me to sing because especially on TV, because I don't look the part. It just doesn't make sense, you know? Wouldn't make sense for me to sing some old, like, you know, rap. Like, it wouldn't make sense for me to get out there and try to do rap or old school, like, or some R&B or the Temptations or some old, you know, music. Like, I'm not like Etta James. Like, come on. Like, that's obviously not something I take a lot of inspiration from. Now, it might shock you that I can do it. Perhaps I can, perhaps I can't. But if I couldn't do it well, it'd be pretty cool. Like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this. And that can be cool, too. But it's just not very believable. So you're starting at a loss. It almost becomes like a comedy thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you see the Big Thug and he does, you know, country music super well. You know, it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. It's cool, but the shock factor is nice and it can get you somewhere, but that's not the kind of thing you want to build a career on, you know? It makes you a one-trick pony and it doesn't get you real far. I mean, it can get you far, but not for the long haul, I should say. It's not like a long haul thing. So being believable as a singer is really the big one. There's all kinds of people who sing different ways, and they're wonderful in their own ways. But I think that in order to sing good, you have to connect with yourself as not just who you are, but as who you are as an artist. And you got to be realistic with how you sound. You got to be realistic with how you come across to other people. And if you are totally off on that, you were wasting your time. That might shock you that I can sing I sang a Yesterday song by the Beatles. But I really don't think it should, because underneath the hat, I don't look quite as, you know, as country, you know what I mean? Yes, I'm from Texas. Yes, I have a little bit of a southern drawl. Yes, I drink Budweiser, and I think it's a wonderful beer. I think it's one of the king of beers. Drink a lot of Miller High Life because it gets the job done. You know, but at the same time, you know, it's not too hard to imagine that while, yes, I am a native Texan, you know, and that is part of who I am, that is not it. That is not all of who I am. And I'm not the kind of guy who goes hunting and fishing, and I don't drive a truck. You know, contrary to popular belief, I don't have a horse. I don't do that kind of stuff. But I am from Texas, so I need to embrace it. I don't need to be offended or afraid of who I am as a person, who my heritage is, or where I'm from. You know, the kind of stuff that goes on around me. I mean, hell, this is Trump country. Doesn't mean I have to be mad about it or happy about it, but that's just what it is. You know, whatever. People like guns out here. Cool. People are into Jesus out here. Cool. Whether I'm into any of that or not, or it doesn't matter. But if I can embrace that that's part of who I am, and just, I don't think it's a hard pill to swallow that I should be able to, you know, I could do gospel music and it shouldn't be offensive. You know, but at the same time, hearing me try to do like Maroon 5 pop, why would I try? Yet, you get up on YouTube and look at how many people try to do music, and it's just, why, dude, lady, who are you fooling here? This isn't working. Do you not see that this doesn't work? Your image, who you are as a person, and then what you're trying to do, they just don't work, like, at all. And not to say that, you know, obviously singing is not about how you look, right? But in a way it is, because who you are is how you are, and how you are and who you are affects who you are and how you sound as a singer. There's almost like a little bit of like a personality war that goes on with a lot of singers. You know, you can tell the ones that oftentimes some of the best, not just singers, but musicians in general, are not the world's most stable people. So it's like you almost have to be a little bit unstable to be a good singer, right? And notice the stuff I'm talking about has nothing to do with your practice or how all that stuff. I'm not here talking about that. because I think anyone who sings consistently kind of gets that. Like there's once you get the technique down, the breath, and how to do it, and it's you've got to realize that it's all about your style and your delivery and who you are and how you are that make the biggest difference. I don't need to try to sound like insert good singer here. I need to sound like me, and who I sound. That sound needs to be professional. So the Dris Organica vocalist, it needs to be something signature, something that's unique to me. And I think I do that okay. But that's been the struggle. Sure, I can do other people's music, some a little better than others. But that's not like, if I'm trying to grow my own brand and try to become my own singer, I've got to find my own voice. And I think that's what it comes down to, is you have to be realistic as to who you are, how you are, and how people perceive you. Because if you have a pretty good understanding of that, you've got a pretty good leg up. You don't have to be the world's most talented vocalist to be able to strike a chord in other people. But you have to be able to strike a chord in other people, or you're not going to be considered a good vocalist. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to belabor this to death. I want to try to start making these episodes a little shorter, but then it just makes my life easier too. Plus, when getting on the video, these things take so much time to render and upload. So, I might end up making these closer to 30 minutes. That's what I think I'm going to start doing. I'm going to make these 30 minutes. I can probably stretch one of these episodes in two. This one will be a little bit longer, but that's fine. But I just want to kind of give you takeaway is, yes, you got to practice. Yes, you got to hit the high notes. Yes, you got to be able to do all this stuff. You got to learn the ins and outs. But more importantly, once you get past that, that's just learning the instrument. You got to practice. You got to rehearse. You got to progress. I think we all get that. But outside of that, you've got to be able to be a believable, unique, and recognizable artist. And you've got to find your own voice in all this. You can do other people's music, that all you want, that's fine. But you've got to do it your way, and it's got to be believable to who you are. So, in order to be believable, you got to know who you are. You've got to be realistic as to how other people perceive you. You got to understand how other people are going to relate to you in order to be a good singer. And that's really like what separates it. There's a lot of people who can hit the notes, sing the melody, do all that stuff right. They may have good natural voices, but they don't sing good. Doesn't like, I don't like this. It's the kind of stuff I've been talking about that separates people who sing from the real singers. Not to say I'm the world's best singer, but I can honestly say I'm a singer in my own way. There's a lot of better ones. Oh, a lot of people can do way more stuff than I have, but I think it's safe to say at this point, I have found my voice, and I'd like for as many other people to be able to find their voice, because once you find your style and your own signature sound and how you are, it is a unique and amazing thing, and it's amazing what you can come up with, right? It may not be as good as other people, and that's okay. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just keep pushing yourself to grow your art and grow yourself as a musician and as a person, because they all go hand in hand. And the more you grow one, the more the other grows. All right. Thank you all for checking it out. I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye-bye.